exec, el Belé, el Belé, el fenómeno que todos quieren ser, el chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to episode 96 of the Exec Talk podcast. I am your host, Elvelez. And like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on all the socials, follow our TikTok, follow us on Instagram, hit us up on X, all those goodies. But today we have a giant bombshell that kind of left me like this. You know why it left me like that? Because the team that did it, right? Although they were having problems with the said player, not problems as in like problems of like playing time or off the field. No, more like problems of like in the sideline. He did antics, diva like behavior. Like kind of like To. This is Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs today got traded from the Bills and Josh Allen to the Texans and CJ Stroud. And for the Texans to pull this off is incredible. Now, also, the Buffalo Bills are taking a $30 million dead cap hit over the next 2 years because of this trade. $8 million this next upcoming year, which is not that bad, but the next year is gonna be pretty bad. Now, how does this affect each team? Well, let's start with the Bills. The whole deal, I have it right here. I bookmarked it on X here. The whole deal was, let me see here. It was for a second round pick, but next year. So it wasn't this year pick, at least a high one. But the crazy, so yeah, for a 2025 second round pick. What does this do? Why would you do this? Well, for the Bills, there's two trains of thought. One is that you got tired of the bullshit. You got tired of his antics on the sideline. You got tired of him asking for targets, even though you were giving him 150, each year. You possibly looked at his playoff performances and how the team fared, and you were kind of thinking like, oh, why are we paying this number one receiver if when in the playoffs, in the moments that we need him the most, he kind of disappears? Granted, Josh Allen doesn't throw him the ball in the playoffs. That's been shown, especially the deeper they get into the playoffs. Either he gets jammed or Josh Allen just doesn't, either he doesn't get open or Josh Allen just doesn't look for him. We don't know. The jury's still out on that. But for the Bills, this is a conundrum. Okay, it leaves you confused as a fan, and I know Buffalo fans are kind of confused. They understand the move, but they're kind of confused. And the reason they're confused is because you guys are the Chargers right now. But unlike the Chargers, that you have the number 5 pick in the draft, you guys have the whopping draft number of, to you guys right now, the rounds go. You guys have the wonderful 28th pick. Okay, you know what that means? You're not getting one of the top 3 receivers unless you work some type of magical trade to move up and go get, at most, you would have to be in the top 15 to try to go get Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think you're as ambitious. I don't think the Bills are as ambitious to spend as much as they have to would have to get into the top 10, especially that 9, that to get into like the 9 range to maybe take Rome Odunze. I don't think they'll move that up that high. But at 28, it's a tough thing there, unless, and this is just a thought, okay? This is just a thought. Possibly, even though they're taking a $30 million cap hit over the next 2 years, possibly they might go after T. Higgins. Now, T has not been signed to a long-term deal by the Bengals, and he's shown that he's asked for a trade. Now, how could the Bills facilitate this? They were kind of short on the cap this year, so it would be very tough to do it. But they need a number 1 receiver, and right now their number 1 receiver is their tight end. You can say Curtis Samuel, but if you're gonna move on from a top 6 wide receiver in Stefon Diggs, top 6 wide receiver in the league, somebody that demands 150 targets, gets you 92, 96, the 2 combined receivers that you let go were 96 first downs last year. That's a lot of offense. So unless you are willing to bite the bullet in the draft, stay at 28, even move up a little bit. I could see him moving up. Even it would not be that significant, but it would get him a couple players better, even though they would be sacrificing draft capital in the draft. Maybe move up into the 15 range, although there might be some quarterback needy teams that don't want to move from there because Penix will be there, or maybe Bo Nix will be there. But overall, I think that this is a move of absolute power by Nick Caserio and the Houston Texans. Basically left the Bills with, a second-round pick for next year? Like, what? Really? That's what you wanted? You wanted a second-round pick for next year. A 2025 second-round pick. What? I mean, second round is pretty good. There's some good players that go through there. But next year, not even in this year's draft, for your number 1 receiver after you got rid of your number 2 receiver in Gabriel Davis. I don't understand. You have Josh Allen. I'm guessing that they're going to put all the trust on Curtis Samuel and on Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. And if you turn Dalton Kincaid into a Travis Kelce, then okay. But at the same time, where are you getting 96 first downs from? Where? You know what I'm saying? Who in the outside do you have to scare a defense to not put 9 in the box and pressure Josh Allen instead of, playing double coverage outside and maybe having a light box? You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand the move. I understand the move philosophically because he was a thorn in the team's side, and the constant complaining for 3 years, especially in the offseason, and the little jabs here on social media and here and there. It gets annoying, especially when there's no Super Bowl to back it up and you've lost to the same team 3 times in the playoffs. But at the same time, football-wise, not a good idea to have no receivers. Like I said, they have Curtis Samuel, they have Khalil Shakir, they have Dalton Kincaid, but that to me does not tell that to me is the Chargers right now. A second-year player in Dalton Kincaid, it's better than Quentin Johnston, and then some pieces. There's not a piece. There's not that piece. Some pieces. But there's still holes, especially on that offensive side. So we'll see what happens. I think that this changes the draft for them. I didn't have them going receiver, and even if I did, at 28 with Stefon Diggs, I would have gone. It would have been a better selection for them. Now they got a hit, and at the pick that they're at, they are gonna pick from probably Lad McConkey, Xavier Leggett, Xavier Worthy. This also changes the draft for KC because KC was looking to get a wide receiver, possibly Xavier Worthy, and now they might take him at 28 and at 32. If Lad McConkey's not there, I mean, they might take the Xavier Leggett, and, he's a beast, but it's not Xavier Worthy. Now, he's a beast, though. He's like, A.J. Brownish, DK-ish type of beast. Good speed, excellent athleticism. The one big season at South Carolina, but that was Spencer Rattler, and that's a good quarterback. His other quarterbacks weren't as good. But, for the Buffalo Bills to just do this out of nowhere, this is a blockbuster trade. And we haven't even talked about the Houston Texans. Like, when you look at the Houston Texans now, you got C.J. Stroud, quarterback, second year, on his rookie contract. You got Tank Dell, on his rookie contract, second year wide receiver. You got Nico Collins, a stud. Could be a 1, could be a 2, was a 1 last year after Tank Dell went down. Even when Tank Dell was healthy, he was basically still a 1. And then now you got a true 1 in Stefon Diggs. Now, one thing about C.J. Stroud and watching him play, obviously, is that you guys know that he, when it comes to being accurate, is like this. Yeah, he's scary accurate. So, the interesting thing for me is, what are you, as a defense, and I'm talking about any defense in the NFL at this point that plays them, what are you covering? Because, okay, let's say that week 1, you're not as scared of the trio. You're not as scared as maybe you should be. You don't respect it as much. And you play a lot of one-on-one, and you try to pressure C.J. Stroud. Well, he has a pretty good offensive line. It's probably only going to get better. Another year with Laremy Tunsil, but if you want to blitz, you are leaving your guys on the outside out to dry. Okay? It's like leaving them out to the pasture and letting crows just eat them all up. Because Stefon Diggs can get off of press coverage. Tank Dell can get off of press coverage. And Nico Collins can get off of press coverage. Now, let's say you're a little bit smarter and you have a little bit more forethought into your scheme. And you decide, I'm going to roll coverage to one side. I'm going to roll coverage to, let's say you want to roll coverage to the strong side. You got Nico Collins, Tank Dell in the slot, Nico on the outside. You have a number 1 receiver, top 6, 7 receiver in the NFL on the other side by himself. I don't think that that's a favorable matchup for you. Because let's say you roll that coverage to that strong side, and then you leave your, supposedly, if you want to be ballsy, you could put your number 1 corner over there and then trust that the double coverage of your number 2, your nickel, and your safety over Tank Dell and Nico Collins, not considering that Dalton Schultz is also coming into the play, the tight end, and that's probably going to be a linebacker on him, or the other safety. And then you're talking about C.J. Stroud, a sniper, that if you give him a foot of space, he's going to fit the ball in there. He's not making mistakes. This is the conundrum. This is the conundrum of adding a Stefon Diggs type of weapon to that offense, especially Bobby Slowick. He's going to have him moving around. He's going to have him in motion. He's going to have him and Tank Dell moving. Like, it's going to be a twister, an absolute blender for anybody else that's going to try to cover them. Now, will it work? It remains to be seen. Will he complain about targets? He really shouldn't. He should get actually more open targets than contested targets because of the other 2 that are on the field. And this is not even talking about Joe Mixon, which is a threat out the backfield as well to catch the ball. and a good runner in between the tackles. So let me put this scenario to you. How about you're playing them, right? Second quarter, third quarter. And they've been running the ball all game. Like you have not stopped the run. Joe Mixon has like a 120 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And you sell out your defense. You're going to put, they're not running no more. I'm putting 8, 9 in the box. We are blitzing. Like, we are stopping this run. You are crucifying yourself. Okay? As a defense, you are picking a poison at knowing that the other poison will murder you. But that's the problem. You have to try it. You must, against this team, you must stop the run. If you do not, if they can get balanced on you, you're screwed. You have to make them one-dimensional. But the thing is, the only dimension that you can only truly make them is pass happy. You have to make them pass happy. And what that means is basically like you stop the run so well, like last year, that they couldn't really run the ball in the playoffs. You stop the run so well that you know they're going to pass. And when you know a team's going to pass, then you could be a little bit more aggressive in your coverage. But that was last year. No Tank Dell in the playoffs. Only Nico Collins. Only Dalton Schultz. Now we're talking about Stefon Diggs, Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell with Joe Mixon. And C.J. Stroud. Guys, if this is not a move to, like, not only win the division, but to try to go after a top 2 seed in the conference, I don't know what is. This is the type of move to go after the Kansas Cities, to go after the Baltimores, to go after the Cincinnatis when they're healthy, to compete with the Chargers now that they have Harbaugh. You know, like, this is a move, you know, and also weakening one of those teams that were at the top for those spots in the Bills. So overall, this move is amazing for the Houston Texans. They're able to do it because CJ's on a rookie contract. Tank Dell's on a rookie contract. Nico Collins is still really young. They got Joe Mixon. And then on the defensive side, because this is not just an offensive team. You know, this is not boom or bust here. This is DeMeco Ryans on the defensive side of the ball with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley Jr. Like, you have legit dudes on the other side that will help CJ Stroud get the ball more. So now as a team, you're stepping in. It's like, oh, yeah, we're facing the Houston Texans. They're just a bunch of young kids. Nah. They're not just young kids. One, they have a year in. So they're not, you know, bushy-tailed and green, Similac behind the ears. And nah. They're professionals with a year under the belt, another year of training camp, another year of OTAs, another year of installing offense, Bobby Slowick in another year, you know, strengthening what CJ Stroud was, him getting even better, you know, in the offseason, Tank Dell coming back healthy. This is what you're talking about. So I applaud. You know, I applaud the Texans for pulling this off. It's an all-in move. I respect it. Will it work? You got to beat Kansas City. I mean, that's literally that's what you're looking for. You're looking to either be the number 1 seed in the AFC, or with Stefon Diggs, you are trying to go after that number 1 seed. If you don't get the number 1 seed, it's not the end of the world, but you have to. This move is basically to say, okay, we can out-offense the Kansas City Chiefs. You feel me? You're going to out-offense Andy Reid. You're going to out-offense Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. That's what you're saying. And this is also directly, I think this is also a response, you know, as a move to Hollywood Brown being signed and possibly them knowing that they're going receiver in the draft. Overall, the Bills got weaker. They look vulnerable. Brandon Beane, I expect to, fix the situation somehow, either in the draft or making a giant move for T. Higgins. Going to the Bengals and saying, hey, man, I'll pay you to be our number one receiver. And then you added that to Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid, and Khalil Shakir, then we're talking about something. But right now, I don't know where they're at right now. Because the best receiving core right now is the Miami Dolphins in that division. Yeah, you can say the Jets, but nah. You got the Cheetah, all-time great. You have Jalen Waddle, a really, really, really good young third, fourth year receiver. Do we need a tight end? Yes. Are we going to draft one? No. Why? Well, because we gave up our number one D tackle, and that is a giant need. Okay? And if we don't want to take D tackle, guess what? We have to take edge. So we're not taking no Brock Bowers, even if he's there at our pick. Unfortunately, as much as I would like that, we're not taking him. Okay? But I think that we do have the strongest wide receiving core in the league, in the division right now. Now, another thing that happened in the sports world, Rajon Rondo has officially retired after 16 years in the NBA. Most of you guys know he won championships with the Celtics and Lakers. Only player to ever do so, I believe. Won in 2008 with the Celtics with KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Doc Rivers, and then won with the Lakers in the bubble in 2021 or 2020. You got to understand what this guy brought to the game. This guy has been considered by LeBron and some of the all-time greats as one of the best point guards of all time, one of the best minds in basketball. LeBron said in a podcast when they asked him, when you were with the Lakers in that 2020 championship, when you were in the Western Conference Finals, or when you knew you were heading to the finals, when you had just won the Western Conference Finals, how did you know that how were you gonna out coach the other team? And he said it pretty simply. Him and Rondo, they sat together and they said, if Miami gets through, LeBron has Spo, as in like he is the one that's gonna cover for Spo and his defense and everything and break it down for the team. And if the Celtics get through, then Rajon Rondo had Brad Stevens at the time. And that's how it was. And it's funny because LeBron, by him, basically destroyed the Miami Heat in that series. He was the finals MVP and everything like that. But it's crazy that LeBron, which is considered one of the top 3 basketball minds ever, gives those type of flowers to Rajon Rondo. And that's not even talking about what he does on the floor. He's one of the best passers the NBA's ever seen. Not leaders in assists and everything, but just as a leader in the locker room. Just a floor general. He's like a true floor general. He's your Chris Paul type, your Jason Kidd types, your old school point guard, orchestrate, be a maestro. Also a defensive menace. Could get it to the hole. He could score when he wanted to and everything like that. But his main game was orchestrating the offense. When you had KG, when you have Paul Pierce, when you have Ray Allen, especially Ray comes off of set shots and screens. You got Paul gets it on the block, needs to post up. All those type of actions, KG getting it on the block and posting up. All those type of actions require a maestro, a ventriloquist of the offense, if you will. And that's what he was. So shout out to him, 16 years. Will he make it to the Hall of Fame? I believe he's a Hall of Fame player just because of what he meant to the teams that he was on. But will he get in? I think it's a Tim Hardaway situation. It's kind of like I think he's going to be between the Hall of Very Good and Hall of Fame. It depends on the voters. Most people like him. He hasn't been into trouble or anything like that, so he has those type of things with him. But I think he should. I think he should. Will he? I'm gonna say 60-40 that he does. Just because like he was part of like two legendary championships. The last Celtic championship in 2008, the last one. We're in 2024. They haven't won since. And then the last Laker championship up until now, and I think it's going to be the last Laker championship for a while, excuse me. But, shout out to him. I saw his whole career. I mean, an absolute maestro. He diced up people in the playoffs. He's known as playoff Rondo for a reason. He always elevated himself in the playoffs, and I think he's a Hall of Famer. But shout out to on a good career, on a great career, Rajon. Now you're probably gonna. I hope you're going into TV. I hope you're gonna be a broadcaster. Maybe you're gonna be on TNT. Maybe you're gonna be an analyst on ESPN. But I want your mind, or make a podcast. I want your mind to do media. I've seen you do it before. You're really good. So I hope that's what you do. On to other big news. Shota Imanaga. Welcome to the big leagues, buddy. He pitched his first game for the Cubs and was absolutely dominant. With like Yoshinobu Yamamoto coming from Japan and him being the big signing and everything, Shota went kind of under the radar, but he was also one of the best pitchers in Japan. And I mean, this guy just has moxie. He's not your typical Japanese pitcher. Japanese pitchers usually are subdued and like very calm because that's how their culture is. Nah, this guy got some juice to him. This guy got some, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I loved it for the Cubs because the Cubs this year have everything that you need to be successful. You got Cody Bellinger, you got Christopher Morel, you got Dansby Swanson, so you have, you brought back Ian Happ, so you have Pete Crow Armstrong whenever he's healthy and put inside the lineup, the young guy. And then you also have pitching. You have Justin Steele, and now you have Shota. And then the rest of the rotation's kind of, you have Assad. Maybe you need to add another arm. But overall, I think Shota, along with Justin Steele, is going to be your 1-2 punch in that rotation. And splitter plays. This guy has some balls. This guy's a left-handed pitcher. He was pitching to a right-hander and pitched a 93 mile per hour, multiple times, 93 mile per hour inside fastball. You got to have so much confidence in that pitch, so much confidence in your location, so much confidence in your control, so much confidence in your sequencing, because you're coming across your body as a left-handed pitcher. You're coming across your body. So that ball is kind of coming in on the hitter. If you miss by one quadrant, because where he was pitching middle in. The problem with pitching middle into a right-hander as a left-hander, just because you're coming from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, the ball travels a little bit more in the air. That means there's a little bit more time for the hitter to recognize it. And at 93 miles per hour, it's not getting in on him as fast as a Spencer Strider 99 mile per hour. You know, a Garrett Cole 98 mile per hour, a Bryce Miller, George Kirby. You're not getting that elite velocity. But what you are getting is location. And location will beat speed 9 times out of 10. Precision. I mean, he's Japanese. This is part of their culture. Precision is part of their culture. But this guy has some balls, man. This guy, he struck out people. He made them swing and miss on that inside fastball. And if he can dominate, if he can locate that fastball throughout the whole season and his whole career, because he's going to have a long career, but throughout the whole season, he can locate that inside fastball to right-handers. It'll be a very, very, very successful pitch and season for him, because not many people are willing to, one, throw that pitch. A hitter's not just thinking like, yeah, he's about to throw me a middle in fastball right here, trying to paint a corner when I'm a guy that's a 40 home run guy. What's the risk with an inside fastball coming from a left-hander? If the hitter is good enough to shorten up, okay, to be able to have fast hands and fire from his hitting position, fire his hands and shorten up his bat delivery, so how he presents the bat into the zone, you can get mashed. For example, a guy like Corbin's on the left side of the plate, but Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt Jr. has some of the fastest hands in baseball. He's a young player, super energetic, twitchy. He's twitched up. So as a left-handed pitcher, if I have 93 middle in, I'm not throwing that pitch. I'm just not. Because I look at the hitter, I look what I'm facing, and I know that he has the hands he has a fast hands in order to shorten up his bat path and get through the zone and get some good wood on that fastball. But not everybody is Bobby Witt. Not everybody is a superstar. So you're going to take advantage of your run-of-the-mill baseball player. It's like, he's not going to, there's no way he'll throw me middle in trying to paint a corner, coming from the left side. Well, guess what? This guy will. He will challenge you. Now, he will get burned sometimes. Overconfidence does that. But that's just part of the game. But I like the confidence. I like the cockiness, just the utter gall to throw that pitch. Because everything else he has, the curve is good. The splitter is a Japanese splitter, which is amazing. You get what I'm saying? He has a changeup. So, he has a nice mix of pitches. And if he's willing, with that 93, 94 mile per hour velocity, to go at right-handed hitters middle in, he could be a very dominant pitcher. So shout out to Shota Imanaga in his debut. Another thing that happened in baseball. Shout out Ronel Blanco, 30-year-old, young when you consider baseball. In his 8th career start, throws a no-hitter for the Houston Astros. And it was interesting because he dominated with a pitch that he rarely used in his first 7 starts. And that was the changeup. I'm talking about 3.5% pitch usage of this pitch. He basically didn't throw it. He didn't use it. And he threw 40% changeups in this game. And it was nasty. It was working. It was working from the first inning. He walked the first batter. And after that, stand him up, sit him down, because that's how it was. And it was good because McCullers is hurt, Urquidy's hurt, and having those guys hurt, really puts a strain on the rest of the rotation, on who you're gonna bring up, J.P. France and Hunter Brown, and and all the young kids. And the Astros needed a win after losing every game against getting swept by the Yankees. And Ronel Blanco went up there, walked the first batter, I think in like the ninth, I want to say. And after that, it was strikeouts and ground balls and pop-ups. And, eighth start in the major leagues and you throw a no-hitter. I mean, shout out to you, dude. Shout out to you. And every single strikeout was on the changeup. Every single one. And most of those changeups were below the zone. What does that mean? That means he throws it in the zone. So it comes out of his hand and it's in the zone, right? But when it's getting to the plate, it just drops out of the zone, which is what a changeup does. It just drops. It goes like in a C. If you look at a changeup, full path of a changeup, it kind of looks like it does a C at the end of the pitch. It kind of looks like it does a C shape when it falls. And it's usually like for a right-handed catcher, it's usually glove side. So it's away from a left-hander and in on right-handers. And it's a tough pitch because, like, some people, some really, really good pitchers, they throw it out of the same tunnel of their fastball. So you're thinking heater. You're thinking when it comes out of his hand and the way that it's coming to you, you're thinking heater. But what you're not thinking of that this is 10 miles per hour slower and that it's going to drop off the face of the earth before you even realize it. So, but shout out to Ronel Blanco, giving the Astros that boost because they need it right now. They're kind of behind the eight ball. It's a 162-game season, guys. I'm not saying the Astros are going to miss the playoffs or anything, but it's a tough start. It's a tough start. You're behind the eight ball. You're behind the Yankees. I believe you're behind the Blue Jays. When it comes to the whole AL, the AL West, you're already behind Texas Rangers. You don't want to be behind the Texas Rangers. You don't want to be behind, the other teams in your division that could possibly be a threat to you. The Seattles. You don't want to do that. It's a 3-team race right now. It's you, Seattle, and the Rangers. And the Rangers are looking really good. We'll get to that in the whole baseball segment of the pod. But now let's move on to the NBA. And, in the NBA, we have around 7 games left. Okay? Around 7 games left. Somehow Milwaukee, because, actually, I don't know why. I guess if they lose 7 in a row, they could be out of the playoffs, but Brooklyn is eliminated. So as soon as Brooklyn is eliminated, I don't know why Milwaukee hasn't clinched, Cleveland hasn't clinched, Orlando hasn't clinched. Like, there's no way for people to, Chicago and Atlanta are both in the play-in already. They're already locked into the play-in. So I don't know why ESPN just doesn't basically lock the playoffs as they are, at least for playoff berths. Playoff berth doesn't mean you're locked into your position. Playoff berth just means you're going to the playoffs. But at the same time, I could understand it because Milwaukee can lose 5 in a row and then be out of the playoffs and then be in the play-in. So I understand why they haven't, quote unquote, clinched the playoff berth yet. I'm not talking about Boston. We've already talked about Boston this whole year. They already clinched the number 1 seed. But they're going to fail in the playoffs, okay? We all know this. Whether it's in the first round, whether it's in the semis, whether it's in the conference finals like it was last year, or whether it's against Denver in the finals. They are not mentally built for it, okay? They've This is the 6th year, 7th year in a row where they're going either deep into the playoffs or to the finals. And because of Jason Tatum, because of Joe Mazzulla, because they want to shoot threes and threes and threes and threes and live by the sword and die by the sword. And in the fourth quarter, they don't move the ball. And you have the slowest pace in the NBA in the fourth quarter. And you have one of the worst field goal percentages in the fourth quarter, like especially from your stars. I just don't think that they have the requisite amount, not talent. That's not what we're talking about here. They have talent. They're the second best starting five in the league. No, I am talking about mental toughness. I am talking about the ability to adjust to somebody playing you a certain type of way. That's why Miami beat them last year. And you could say Porzingis and Drew Holiday are going to change that. Bullshit, because it's still in the fourth quarter. Who are you going to? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. That's who you're going to. Number 0 and number 7. Everybody else is a complimentary piece. And if they turn over the ball, if Jaylen Brown can't go left, if Jaylen Brown is your best player and Jason Tatum is not your best player, you will lose. You will lose. The Knicks are better. 76ers are no longer a pushover. They have to get out of the play-in because they're 8th right now. They're not getting out of the play-in right now. It's 7 games left, and you need to make up 2.5 games on Indiana. I don't think Indiana's going to lose 3 games in a row, and then you win 3 games in a row. It's possible. Philly can do it because Embiid is back. He came back. He dropped 24 and 6, which is pretty good. But at the same time, he's not completely back. He's not back to that form of 35 a game yet. He's on a minutes restriction. It will help them, but I don't think that it'll help them enough to jump over Indiana and the Heat, because Indiana and the Heat are tied right now for 6 and 7. The Heat, I think because of the tiebreaker, is ahead in the 6th spot. If I'm a Heat fan, which I am, we have to stay there. We must. We must stay there. We do not want to be in the play-in. I repeat, we do not want to be in the play-in. Why? Because if we face Philly, we're facing Joel Embiid. We're not facing just Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris and Buddy Hield. No, you're facing last year's MVP and a guy who was averaging 35. If especially with 7 games under him, I think that minutes restriction goes off, and he possibly turns into that 35 a game guy again. Okay, the guy that we're talking about. Oh, this is the clear-cut MVP. Ain't nobody else winning this year. He's gonna win 2 in a row. And then he got hurt. Now he came back. So we'll see what happens there. But if I'm Miami, you must stay in that 6th position. Why? Because you get the best, not the best, but you get a really good road. You get what I'm saying? You can beat Cleveland. Guys, we can beat Cleveland. Okay? First round, we can beat Cleveland. Jimmy Butler can dominate that series. You have 2 small guards in Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. That doesn't, although I don't know what's happening with Tyler Hero. He's still hurt. I don't like that. We have Terry Rozier, but I don't like Tyler being hurt. The worst scenario for us is to be in the 7th seed, win our playing game against the 76ers, and who do we get? Milwaukee. We get Dame and Giannis. First round. Yeah, that's not ideal. And then if we lose our playing game, and then we win our second playing game like we did last year, guess who we get? Boston. Now, some people might say, oh, we want Boston. We beat them last year. We have something mental edge over them. I don't want to see them in the first round. That's not what I want to see. That's not. I can see them later, maybe when they're a little hurt, maybe when they've been tested a bit, and there's some tendencies that you can exploit. Not straight out of rest and, full home court advantage. Like, I don't want to. That's not how I want to do it. We beat them last year with them having home court advantage. We beat them in their floor. But as a Heat fan, after going to the finals last year, I would like an easier road. If I have a chance to possibly meet Boston or Milwaukee in the second round, just postpone it around and give myself maybe the opportunity to figure out some things offensively, because right now we cannot play half-court offense for shit, okay? Especially in tight games. I love Spo. I love Jimmy. I love Bam. But my God, when we need a bucket in a close game, our bucket is our defense, okay? Not our offense. We need our defense to create an opportunity in transition to get a bucket. Because our half-court offense, oh my God, awful. Awful, okay? You know why? Because we still only have a 1.5 net rating right now. A points differential of 1.5 points. You know what that is? Nothing. That's a basket. 2 points. That's it. That's the difference right now of us outscoring our opponents. 1.5 points. That doesn't work in the playoffs, guys. And Jimmy Butler. Jimmy, listen. If you're going to turn into playoff Jimmy, okay, which I know you will, I need you, I implore you, I beg you to take 20 to 25 shots a game. Jimmy, we cannot go into the playoffs and you shooting 15 shots. You are our best player. I get that you love to pass, okay? I get that you can get 10 assists, 15 assists if you wanted to. But how about, let's say this. If you don't want to be a scorer that night, if you just don't feel like it, you don't feel like the team needs it, all right. Then give me 15 to 20 assists. Don't give me this bullshit game of 20 points and 8 assists. Don't give me that. That's not going to get us anywhere. Yes, Bam is better, but where's Tyler? Tyler's going to come back. Is he going to be completely healthy? Is he going to be completely efficient? Terry Rozier, will his shot translate into the playoffs? Kevin Love is back. Will Caleb Martin keep hitting his threes? Haywood Highsmith, Nikola Jovic, what's he going to do? You know what I'm saying? So, Jimmy, please, for the love of God, please, if you want to win a championship, 25 shots a game, okay? And I need you to be efficient. I can't have you doing turnaround jumpers off your left shoulder while you're getting double covered. Nah. No. What I need from you is a consistent threat from anywhere that you are on the floor. That's what I need from you. A consistent threat. What does that mean? Cut like you usually do. If you're one-on-one, bully the guy in front of you. Don't just kick out the ball. Look, I'm just gonna pass it. I have a one-on-one, but I don't want this. Like, come on, man. You really are that dog. But we need that dog to score more points, to be more aggressive from the tip. Not in the third quarter, not in the middle of the second. No, from tip. We need you 10 toes down, standing on business. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? We can't be in like fourth quarter, lollygagging, having 18 points. We're down by 5. No, we cannot. These teams are too good in the playoffs. Our defense is going to get us only so far. We saw it last year against Denver. We couldn't stop Jokic. And guess what? We couldn't score. Okay? That's embarrassing in this day and age in the NBA. Okay? So I need you to score. Okay? Orlando's going to be a big surprise. Right now they have home court advantage. They're in the 4th seed. They would face the Knicks. It would be a very interesting series. And I'm being extremely honest with you guys. especially if Julius Randle's not ready, if OG Anunoby's still dealing with, I think it was elbow tendon, not even tendonitis, tendoninotis, some weird ailment that I've never heard in my life. That's what OG Anunoby's dealing with, and maybe they're just saving him for the playoffs. The Knicks are 5th right now. They're only half a game back of 4, so that can change within the next 7 games. Orlando's only 1 game back of Cleveland for the 3rd seed, which is insane. We're talking about an Orlando team that was out of the play-in last year, one of the worst teams in the East. And 2 years in, not even 2 years in the 2nd year of Franz and Paolo being together, you're talking about a top 6 seed? That is incredible. That they skipped the year. They skipped the OKC year that they had last year, where OKC was kind of flirting with the play-in a little bit and lost in the play-in. No, they skipped that year. They said, fuck it. We are, I don't say that lightly, but literally, that's what they said. Because essentially, Paolo, Franz, Jalen Suggs, when you look at Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz to a lesser extent, they have lived and died this year by their defense. Now, they can score. They have a plus 2.3 point differential. That's not a lot. I understand that's not a lot. I mean, look at Boston, 11.7, but that's like an all-time great mark. So even Milwaukee's at 3.2, and their offense is not really playing that well that we're speaking about. They just lost to Memphis, guys. 7 games left, and they lost to Memphis. I don't understand. With Giannis. I don't get it. But you're supposed to be playing at your best. Dame is, taking a rest or hurt or something. They have Patrick Beverly starting. I mean, it's a mess. I don't know how Giannis just doesn't beat Memphis. Like, I don't get that. But I digress. The most fraudulent team that I see in the top 6 right now has to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. It just has to be. I've seen what the Knicks can do when they're healthy. I know what Miami can do in the playoffs. Excuse me. Orlando. When your game, when your scheme, when what your team plays is based off of effort and defense, you can go far in the playoffs. And it's not like they don't have talent. They have a number 1 pick as their best player. They have one of the best international players in the world in Franz Wagner, a gold medalist in Franz. They have his brother. They have one of the best defensive guards in the league in Jalen Suggs. They have Wendell Carter Jr., one of the best stretch 5s in the league. And they have a pretty good bench. Anthony Black and Markelle Fultz and length, and you have Jonathan Isaac, Caleb Houston shooting from the outside. So you have Joe Ingles shooting from the outside, Goga Batadze, so you have a pretty good roster and a good coach. So they might surprise some people. They might beat Cleveland. Maybe. They might beat Cleveland. Actually, no, they might beat beating the Knicks, though. That is a tough matchup for them round 1. That's a rock fight. However long that series goes is a rock fight. It is literally defense versus defense and who can actually score. And it's going to turn, I think, into a one-on-one game. And in that aspect, I think Jalen Brunson for the Knicks, it has a stronger overall game to be able to win those type of matchups. He's done it before. He did it last year. But Paolo can just wake up. Guys, we're talking about a number 1 pick last year. This guy can be a superstar. He has that type of ability. He has that type of personality. He's a 6'9", 6'10" wing that can shoot from the 3. He can post you up. He can cross you up. He has a good handle. He can hit you with a fadeaway. Like, this guy's everything. Do it all. And he can play defense. So, Orlando's really, 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 really interesting. I don't think Chicago or Atlanta are doing jack shit I think they both lose. I mean, actually, honestly, when I think about this, the playing scenario, if Miami's not in it, the two teams that are getting out of there should be Indiana and Philadelphia. The Pacers and the 76ers that right now are the 7th and 8th seed. That's what I expect to get out of the play-in. I don't expect Chicago to get out. Maybe they get lucky. They do get out, but then they get swept. So why? That makes no sense. And you are risking, as Philadelphia better win against the Pacers in that playing game, if that's what the playing game is. They better win. Because you don't want Joel Embiid in a do-or-die situation to make it to the playoffs, to then get Boston round 1. Which you might say, oh, they could go with Boston. Yeah, they could, especially with Embiid. They don't have a player that can cover him. But I don't think you want to see him round 1 off a rest and you coming off of 2 days of rest. I don't think so. I don't think you want to do that. So I think Philly should win against Indiana if they're in the 7-8 play-in game, and then they go against Milwaukee. I give them a better chance against Milwaukee in the first round, that they have continuity issues and Dame and Giannis haven't figured it out, even though I expect them to figure it out in the playoffs. But I think they have a better chance of beating Milwaukee and moving on to the second round than to go directly against Boston round 1. That's just me. On to the West. Okay? Remember that Tuesday, Minnesota was the 3rd seed. Well, today, on Thursday, well, this is actually Wednesday night, but you're going to see this Thursday. On Thursday, Minnesota's number 1. Oh, Denver's number 2. OKC's 3. This is what we're talking about. With 7 games left, this is going to keep shuffling around. Why? Because if Minnesota wins, they stay. If Denver wins, they stay. As soon as one of them loses, the other one wins. So that's why they keep changing. Now, I think that it's best for Minnesota to get the number 1 seed, because they don't have Cat right now. So any advantage that they could have, especially being 28-10 at home, even though they're 25-13, which I think is the best road record in the league. That's because defense travels. That's all it is. 27-13, 25-13. Okay, Boston has a better road record, but it's Boston, so we don't care about them. So Minnesota's 1 right now. They've 8-2 in their last 10. You got Denver at 2. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And then OKC 3, they're 6-4 in the last 10. 1 game back right now. So in the same position that Minnesota was on Tuesday. The Clippers are 5.5 games back. Dallas has worked its way up to the 5th seed. They're 2 games back of the Clippers. Can they get there? 7 games left. It's going to be tough because the Clips face... Okay, so you might be able to get a game on them against the Nuggets. They play the Nuggets tomorrow. They're going to beat the Jazz. The Cleveland Cavaliers is going to be interesting. And then they face the Suns on next Tuesday. And then they face the Suns again on Wednesday. They just flip places. One is in Phoenix, one is in LA. They face the Jazz again, and they finish with the Rockets, which have been playing pretty well. So I don't think that Dallas, even though they've been playing really well, they're 8-2 in their last 10, and the Clippers are 5-5 in their last 10. But I don't see picking up 2 games unless, you are begging the Nuggets to whoop their ass, and you still got to win. So as Dallas, who do you have to beat? You got to beat the Hawks tomorrow. You got to beat the Warriors. You just lost to them by 2. You got to beat the Warriors in Dallas on Friday. Got to beat the Hot Rockets. Then you can beat the Hornets. You got to beat the Heat. You can beat the Pistons. And then your last game is against the Thunder. Which is a giant game for the Thunder, because if they're still in that flippity floppy in that last game and they lose that last game, that could be the number 1 seed. So for Dallas, it is possible, but they got to be on their A game. They have been, like I said, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They just lost against the Warriors. But I think that with Luka, Kyrie closing out the season, I think that they could make it to that 4th seed. Now, if they make it to that 4th seed, now you're facing the Clippers. Excuse me, you're facing the Clippers, but you have home court advantage. Right now, you're facing the Clippers and you don't have home court advantage. Okay? Your road and home record is pretty much the same, 22-15, 23-15. So it's one game. You're better away by one game. But other than that, I think for Dallas, it'd be better to be at home just for the Luka and Kyrie and just that crowd. I believe they can beat the Clippers in the playoffs. But at the same time, I think it'll be such a great series because if you look at the matchups wise, the Clippers might have a little bit more depth when it comes to superstardom, but Dallas you can consider Dallas to be maybe the better put together team. So who's going to cancel each other out in that series? Dallas is going to, Luka is going to cancel out Kawhi. Kyrie will cancel out PG. So now you have James Harden. It's going to get canceled out by maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. That's where the difference is right there. You got James Harden against Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, you are hoping, as Dallas, that James Harden goes back to his regular antics in the playoffs and chokes. Mr. Choke Artist himself. They got a Copa Choke Artist in that team. But, they're relatively healthy right now, and I just don't think that you want to see Kawhi in the playoffs. But then again, you don't want to see Luka or Kyrie in the playoffs. So I think it'll be a fascinating series, possibly go 6 or 7 games. But right now, we don't know that that's the series we're going to get because right behind Dallas, half a game back, is New Orleans. Now, they're 5-5 in their last 10. They're kind of lost some steam from when they were rolling. But their remaining schedule is as follows. Got to beat the Spurs on Friday. You got a tough test against the Suns. You got to beat you got to destroy the Trailblazers. You got to beat the Kings. You got to beat the Warriors in San Francisco. And then you got the Lakers last game of the season, which you should win. You're at home. You should win. Now, the Lakers are probably vying right there. They're probably going to fight tooth to nail to get out of that play-in. I don't think they can right now, but, they're going to fight that game. But you got to win that game. Now, half a game back behind them, you got Sacramento. Sacramento 6-4 in their last 10. They're kind of the Cleveland Cavaliers of the West. Even though they had more success last year, they still lost in the first round, but they put up more of a fight going 7 games against Curry and the Warriors. But they're in the play-in against Phoenix Suns. Think about this, guys. This is what's going to happen. You are either going to get Kevin Durant against De'Aaron Fox in the 7-8 game, and Kevin Durant can lose that game and have to beat LeBron or Curry to get into the playoffs as an 8th seed. That means that the play-in game that is going to be most watched is going to be Lakers Golden State. And why do I say that? Even though Phoenix is only one game up, actually, Phoenix and Sacramento are only one game up on the Lakers right now. And the Lakers are 8-2 and won 3 in a row. Golden State is 7-3 and won 5 in a row. But the Warriors have dug themselves in such a hole that they're 2 games behind the Lakers for the 9th seed. Now, the Lakers are 9.5 games from the number 1 seed, and Phoenix and Sacramento are 8.5. So that's a game, which you can gain a game in seven games. When we look at Sacramento, who they're facing, they're not going to beat the Celtics. They might not beat the Knicks. So that's 2 losses right there, back-to-back days. These are back-to-backs. Thursday, Friday, Knicks, Celtics. That's tough. You're gonna beat the Nets. You go against the Thunder on Tuesday. You go directly against the Pelicans on Thursday. Then you go Suns next Friday, and then you finish off with the Trailblazers, which should be a win. That's a tough schedule finishing out. That's a tough schedule to try to hold that 7 seed. Now, if you beat New Orleans, you could possibly jump into the 6 seed and, dodge the play-in altogether. When we look at the Suns got Timberwolves on Friday, which is probably going to be also for the number 1 seed for Timberwolves, going to be a big, big game. You have Pelicans, Clippers, Kings, Timberwolves. Holy shit. You got Timberwolves, Pelicans, Clippers, Kings, Timberwolves. Timberwolves fighting for the number 1 seed. The Clippers fighting for the number 4 seed. And the Suns trying to get out of the play-in. Directly in lockstep, and the Kings directly in lockstep with you trying to get out of the play-in. Whew. The Suns got it tough. And then we look at the Lakers. Who got the Lakers left? Cavaliers on Saturday. Lakers should win that. You got the Timberwolves on Sunday. Big game. Warriors on Tuesday. That's insane. That game is absolutely crazy. Grizzlies will probably win, and then they finish out with the Pelicans next Sunday. And then Golden State, you gotta beat the Rockets, and they're hot right now. That they're tomorrow, Thursday. Then you got go against the Mavericks again, but in Dallas. Then you gotta beat the Jazz. Then you gotta beat the Lakers in LA. Then you gotta beat the Trailblazers. You go against the Pelicans at home, and then you finish out with the Jazz. So the path for them is still tough to even think about getting out of the 10th seed. And you can't slip up because Houston is 8-2 in their last 10. Even though they're 3 games back, if you slip up, Houston can catch you. They're not eliminated yet. They're the only team in both conferences because Brooklyn got eliminated already. So the rest of the Eastern Conference is already eliminated. The playoffs are the teams are kind of set. But Houston's the only one in the Western Conference that's not in the playoffs or the play-in that is still mathematically alive to get in. So that's the NBA. Now let's go to our first MLB standings report of the season. We want to talk about baseball. Let's look at the standings. Okay. New York is 6-1, the Yankees in the AL East. Boston, we thought they were going to be horrible. They're 5-1. Baltimore's 4-2. Toronto's 3-3. Tampa Bay's 3-3. That's going to be an absolute gauntlet. A gauntlet of a division. Definitely a coin toss between them and the possibly the I want to say the NL West, between what the toughest divisions in baseball are. But even the AL West, the AL West is pretty stacked if you take Oakland out and you take Anaheim out. But the Angels out. But I expect the Yankees to keep going. I don't expect them to fall off. I expect Boston to fall off. They just don't have the requisite amount of just overall raw power offensively. I think they're just on a heater now. And even the pitching is kind of suspect. Baltimore should be up there all the time. Toronto's going to be the wild card. Are they going to be offensively viable? Is their pitching good enough? And then Tampa Bay, they'll somehow figure it out. AL Central, we all thought the Tigers were going to be good. They're 4-0 right now. Cleveland's 5-2. The Twins are 3-2. KC's 2-4. And then the White Sox are going to be trash all year. Probably bottom 2 in the whole league in all the majors as a horrible team, along with the Oakland A's. Surprising to me was KC. They've had a tough schedule to start, but I thought KC would be a little bit more better with Cole Reagans and Bobby Witt Jr. and Michael and Pasquantino being healthy. But, like I said, guys, I got to be realistic. It's only 6 games in. It's a 162-game season. The AL West Texans, the Rangers are first. They're 4-2. The Angels are 4-2. Interesting, but they've faced, no one. And that means the Marlins. Seattle's 3-4. Houston's 2-5, but they got swept by the Yankees, so I don't expect that to continue. And then the A's are probably the worst team in baseball. And when I see these highlights of the A's, it is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. I expect the Texas Rangers to be up there. I expect Seattle to be up there. I expect Houston to be up there. I do not expect the Angels to stay up there. Absolutely not. They'll be better than the A's, but I don't think that they'll be in the mix for the wild card of the playoffs just because it's Mike Trout and a bunch of kids and Neto and Shanwell and Ohapi. Rendon, will he figure it out? And their pitching is still such a... Who is their number one pitcher? Still Seth. Sandoval. I mean, you got... There's not really anybody there that I'm very confident in. Redemptors, I'm not very confident in that. Let's go to the National League. The Braves are 3-2. Washington Nationals are 2-3. It's kind of surprising the records of this division, considering the Braves and Phillies and Mets are here. But Washington's 2-3, so they're already under 500. So the only over 500 team is the Braves at 3-2. Phillies are 2-4. The Mets are 0-4, and the Miami Marlins, for the first time in the history of their existence, it's only been since 1992 or 3 since we've been a team. 0-7. Let me repeat that. 0-7. You know what that means? We are a AA team in the majors. Okay? We're a laughing stock. Okay? A laughing stock. And I think it's going to continue. I feel bad for Jesus Luzardo, our best pitcher. I feel bad for all our young players because we are gonna suck so bad. There is no hope for this team. Okay? You think there was hope. You thought there was hope. Oh, Jazz Chisholm is gonna be fully healthy for a whole season. Oh, we have Yuri Perez, Jesus Luzardo. Yeah, but we let go of our best bat in Soler. Our rotation is not all that. Our hitting rotation, our lineup, is not all that. Yeah, we're gonna suck. Now, do I expect us to be worse than the A's? No. But right now they have a win and we don't. So we'll see about that. But we suck. Okay? We suck. Donkey poop. Doo-doo. Poo-poo. Ka-choo. We suck. Okay? And I expect it to continue. 0-7 is ridiculous. We're already 4 games behind the division. We're so bad. The Mets are 0-4. I don't expect that to continue. They're way better lineup and rotation than us. But they can struggle, because Washington, I expect them to be a little bit more frisky this year. The NL Central, Pittsburgh is 5-1. Now, you might say, "Oh my God, they were hot last year." I think they can keep it up this year. Brian Reynolds is playing like Brian Reynolds. O'Neal Cruz is mashing like O'Neal Cruz, although He hit 7 bombs in spring training. He only hit 1, I think, or none yet. Key Brian Hayes is hitting the ball hard and putting the ball in play. You got Triolo. You know, you have Alika Williams. So you have a lot of young players coming up, and you still got Paul Skeens to throw out there on the rotation with Mitch Keller and, you know, Mitch Keller. You know, their pitching is more to be desired, although Jones pitched really well in his debut. I think he had 9 strikeouts, Jarrett Jones. So maybe, you know, you add him to Mitch Keller, and then it's a stronger rotation, especially when Paul Skeens, Mr. 101, effortless comes up. I don't know when they're gonna bring him up. Supposedly it's in early summer. I hope they're bringing him up earlier than that. I want to see this guy pitch. I'm tired of going back to LSU highlights and seeing this guy dominate in college. I need this guy dominating in the majors. Okay? This is why you got drafted number 1 overall. Get him up there. Okay? Milwaukee is 4-1. I expect them to be playing up there. Cincinnati's 4-2. I expect them to be battling. I mean, when you look at the AL Central, sneaky competitive division. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, the Cubs. Okay, 4-2, 4-2, 4-1, 5-1. Competitive. And then St. Louis, I expect them to be dragging behind 3-4. They just haven't fixed everything that they need to fix. They're kind of old. But Pittsburgh and Cincinnati's who I'm looking for to really take the step in that division, who I expect and can see winning the division, you know, at the end is the Cubs, because they have Belly, Shota, Justin Steele, you know, Christopher Morel, Dansby Swanson. You know, they have a pretty good team overall. Would I be surprised if Milwaukee wins it? No. Would I be surprised if Cincinnati wins it? No. Would I be surprised if Pittsburgh wins it? A little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they make the wild card. That team is pretty good on paper. And then we go to the NL West. We have the Thanos of the MLB, the LA Dodgers. Mookie Betts is already on an MVP streak. Basically, he has 4 bombs in the first 8 games of the season. Freeman's playing great. Shohei hasn't woken up yet. You know, he's getting on base and he's driving runs in off of pop flies and some singles, but he hasn't woken up yet. You know what we're talking about. Shohei, you know, 450 plus foot bombs is what we're waiting for from Shohei. So he hasn't woken up yet. The whole lineup is disgusting. Gavin Lux hasn't really woken up yet. Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez is also another power threat. He looks comfortable. Kike Hernandez. I mean, that team is so stacked. James Outman, Jason Hayward, so stacked. And then pitching, you want to talk about pitching with no Clayton Kershaw. You got Bobby Miller, Tyler Glasnow. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's without Kershaw and without Walker Buehler. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they come back, and then you have a rotation that's basically indestructible. Arizona's 4-3. Ketel Marte's playing well. Corbin Carroll has been in and out of the lineup. I don't understand what that's about. But you know, I expect him to be posting a lot more consistently. Christian Walker's playing well. Lourdes Gurriel's playing well. Zach Gallen is pitching well. You know, you still got Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, you know, Ryan Nelson. So you have good arms in that rotation. I expect them to be there all year. I like their offense. Want to see more of a wake up from Gabriel Moreno and Polanco or Perdomo, but overall, I like what I see from Arizona early in the season. The Padres are 4-5. Tatis is playing well. Xander has to wake up. Cronenworth has to wake up. Manny has to wake up, but they're playing pretty well. They're 4-5. They've had to face the Dodgers in and soul, so that puts them behind the 8 ball, but I don't expect that to affect them. The Giants, Young Hoo Lee has not woken up truly yet. He's still kind of feeling his way at the plate. I love the Matt Chapman signing. I mean, absolutely raking already, going back to Matt Chapman that he was. You have Wilmer Flores, Lamont Wade. You have some bats in the rotation, in the lineup. But what I really love about this team is the pitching, man. Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison. Just you got Logan Webb and then a bunch of young arms that can really throw the ball, Harrison especially. And then, of course, at the bottom, 1-6, going to be horrible all year, along with the Marlins and the A's. Colorado. Garbage. I mean, absolute trash. Nolan Jones, Brian McMahon. I mean, I feel bad for all these guys. Ezekiel Tovar, good players, but pitching, absolutely non-existent. Okay, I'm talking about non-existent. Okay? And then the White Sox just have Luis Robert, and I feel bad for him too because he's in a horrible team. He's one of the best players in baseball, and he's in a horrible, horrible team. But yeah, that's your baseball update, the first one of the year. I love what I'm seeing. It's super exciting to see baseball again. Home runs, strikeouts, web gems, the occasional, dugouts emptying. I don't like the injuries. There hasn't been many, except that the biggest one is the Texas Rangers. Josh Young, fractured wrist. He'll be out a couple months. I think they can easily patch that up. I think that they have enough bats in the lineup to cover for that. I don't see that as a problem, even though you lose a little bit of power there. But other than that, nobody's gotten really seriously injured yet. But yeah, really exciting to see baseball back. And with that, we get to our last little thing, which is Formula One. They're going to Japan, and I'm gonna have to watch a race at 1 a.m. And I'm gonna have to watch qualifying at 2 a.m. because that's when they qualify in Japan, and that's when they air it over here. You feel me? For those people that think that we're not getting Verstappen domination, I need you guys to look at me straight in the eye, right? I need you guys to reset your brain. Press the reset button. Well, you've seen the failure of his brakes, the maybe the slow pace. You're not gonna see that no more. I'm sorry. I wish it was that way. I wish it was that we had a chance to see a new winner every week. But guess what? We don't. Expect Verstappen to dominate at Suzuka. I don't want it to happen. But unfortunately, they're just a little bit ahead of the 8 ball, that team and that car. So, and Suzuka being a fast track, I think it's gonna bode well for that car. I expect Ferrari to make a push, especially in qualifying, but if they haven't figured out the race pace, it's going to be another Bahrain Grand Prix where he's up 22 seconds on his own teammate. Okay. And at lap 10, we're going to be like, where's Verstappen? Oh, he's 7 to 10 seconds up ahead, and there's no battle for the lead anywhere close in this race. It could be like that. Or we can be imaginative, and you can have imagination and pixie dust and be like, yay, we're going to get different winners and it's going to be a championship for the ages. Yeah, how about you turn off Formula One and come back in 2026 when they have different cars, and maybe, just maybe, the domination of Red Bull doesn't exist. And then also, NASCAR is heading to Martinsville, the paperclip. Yes, there is a racetrack that is known as the paperclip. It's a half-mile short track where the oldest drivers are the ones that dominate because you need to save tires. You use a lot of brakes. You have to know how to pass. It's a slow track, so you have to know how to position your car to pass. Everybody wants to be on the bottom. Who's gonna have the grip and the the balls to go around people at the top. Uh, so it's a lot. It's gonna be a lot on the crew chiefs. Like I said, it's a slow track, so the crashes are not as big, but the straightaway has a wall on the inside, so that's tough when people get turned around and hit that. And it is a very type of track, which is basically like accelerator, decelerate, accelerator, decelerate. Gonna be interesting. I expect Kyle Busch to be good. I expect as usual, Joe Gibbs cars, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, maybe Ty Gibbs gets his first win this week. It's possible. I don't think so, but it's possible. I expect Penske, the Fords, to be some better than what they've been, but I think it's still going to be dominated mostly by Hendricks and Gibbs cars, Toyota and Chevy. Maybe Trackhouse with Chastain. He pulled off a crazy maneuver last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Coming on the outside, the last lap. I don't think it'll finish like that, but I expect it to be a good race. For some of you guys, it's gonna be boring because it's a slow. It's not a mile and a half. It's not a 2 mile. It's not a 2.5 mile super speedway. It's a more delicately driver-centric track, and if you are a seasoned veteran in the series, then you have a chance to win at Martinsville. Excited for it. Excited for every race in NASCAR. Every single race brings different aspects and different attributes that put other drivers in better positions than others. We'll see how qualifying goes, but yeah, excited for that. So thank you guys for joining us and me for episode 96 of the Exec Talk podcast. I am Elvalez, your host. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on all our socials. It's in the description. And I will see you guys next episode. Leave you with the outro.